guys are peaches.
Got your Achilles heel right there.
Oh, dear Lord. What do we have for a time?
7.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Councilmember Monroe,
second.
second by Councilmember Johnson. Any additions or subtractions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Number 4, anyone, resident comments, questions, concerns about something that is not on the current agenda? Outstanding. Reports? We have none. Public hearings. Do we need to wait until 7 to open that, or are we doing that right now?
It is 7.
Thank you very much. You used to start at 6:30. All right, Mr. Merrick, capital improvement plan. It is 7.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, for your consideration, we have a resolution that would provide preliminary approval for the issuance of general obligation capital improvement plan bonds in the amount not to exceed $4.95 million and adopting the City of Carver's capital improvement plan. So essentially, that's the legalese way of saying this is our Broadway City Hall project. And before we get into kind of some more of the recent pieces, I just wanted to run through a project timeline for the council, audience, and those watching. So the process essentially began in September 13, where the council initiated a master facility study. We had a resident committee and met for a series of months, finally completed a master facilities study. We had a town hall meeting later on in 2014. And for a while, just kind of operated per usual. And then in February of 2016, the Village Hall closed due to some structural concerns, which we've kind of gone over. But we brought on WSB to provide a structural report. We went through a series of looking at probable costs, repair scenarios. If you remember, there was a discussion of repair and hybrid or rehabilitation. Essentially, that discussion led to a process where we wanted to develop a work plan and talk about community spaces in Carver, rather than just focusing on the existing problem that was occurring at the Village Hall. And so 2 task forces were developed, one that was kind of a community leaders group, and then one that was more of an internal group of the City Council and members of the Planning Commission, Parks Commission, and Heritage Preservation Commission. And with the help of Leo A. Daly, the architectural firm, a needs assessment was done, vision and goals were created, and then a series of task force meetings, which eventually culminated into a joint task force where building concepts, locations, and repair scenarios were looked at. At one point, the city engaged Greystone Construction to prepare an estimate to repair Village Hall. That was reviewed by the task force, and then eventually there was a set of 5 building locations of varying prices that included tax estimates, or tax impacts cost estimates, and then the city presented a project timeline and engagement plan to look at all those options. And so we had an open house. There was a really detailed guide that was sent out to residents looking at all those options. One was south of the fire station. We looked at the old wastewater plant. There was one at the 920 6th Street redevelopment site, and a number of other different scenarios, including rehabilitating the existing property and then just making the repairs. And that eventually resulted in developing a 6th option, which was demoing the existing Village Hall, City Hall space, and then building a new City Hall space on the Broadway site. And then from that point, some additional stakeholder information was put together. We got members from different segments of the community, recommended by the council, and then staff put together some folks and had that community stakeholder design session look at how the building should function, what types of uses should be in there. One of the big pieces Within that was adding a commercial kitchen, which the council asked to have included, and this was at a time where Wold was brought on as the lead architect for the project. And so the community stakeholder design session, those principles were used by the building committee, which was a staff-led committee, along with the architect and Kraus Anderson, which is serving as our construction manager. And that group really started to work on developing a floor plan, then the exterior of the building, and then throughout the course of the last several months, we put out newsletters, shared information about our floor plans, building elevations. Then in January, we initially had scheduled a public hearing to do what the council is considering tonight. That was rescheduled for this evening in order to allow the council to cut the budget for the project by $200,000 and then also add another $200,000 to the overall project budget. And the combination of those two tasks had led us to our total for tonight, the cost not to exceed of $4.95 million. Then we updated the residents through the city newsletter on the project changes and revised tax impacts. Also updated our webpage for that and did some social media runs on that. And then tonight, public hearing on the project. So I'll just kind of run through a little bit of our floor plan and elevations just to kind of get everyone on the same page. So this is the main street level of the building, or Broadway level. Includes the vestibule lobby, toilet areas, but the featured area is the multi-purpose room that can seat approximately 200 people for an event, commercial kitchen, and a piece that's mentioned in the memo. So a commercial kitchen is what's considered an ancillary use to the kind of the primary function of the building. And so the costs associated with the commercial kitchen upgrade are going to be paid out of the city special capital project fund. They can't be paid through the capital improvement bond. The second floor space is the main city hall, excuse me, offices, several conference rooms, council chambers, break room, etc. And then finally, the tax impacts related to the project. We've provided a few. There's a complete tax impact model that was run by Springstead in your packet. We've been talking a lot through different projects of using $300,000 as a guide, and so the tax impact for the $4.95 million project on a $300,000 home annually is $237 a year. We also have Doug Green here tonight with Springstead. He's filling in for Paul Steinman. Springstead has prepared a memo and has been very helpful and involved in preparing the financial documents that you have in your packet and that we've been discussing for the last several months. And so with that, I'd like to invite Doug Green to come up and just give an overview of Springstead's financial analysis of the project and answer maybe any questions that the council has initially.
All right. Thank you, Brent. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good to be here. Doug Green with Springstead. As Brent mentioned, this is just a statutory required process to go through to be able to issue these, what we call these types of bonds. They're all general obligation bonds. In statutes, they just list about a dozen different authorities for different purposes, and city halls for cities happen to fall under this statute that we call capital improvement plan bonds. The potential underwriters and bondholders just know them as general obligation bonds of the city of Carver. They really don't care about what that other title is.
Do they even care what we use them for?
The good question, Mr. Ray. No.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think so.
Not when it's an essential, if this was a housing development, maybe, and the city was putting their GO on it, but if it's water, sewer, essentially city hall, no, they care about the general obligation rating and the city's credit rating.
Guaranteed return.
Right.
Okay.
So I believe in the packet there is estimated debt service schedules, again, amortized over 20 years. Right now in the current interest rate environment, it is a bit volatile. Hopefully it will calm down. We're looking at about $350,000 per year. As you, over the next few months, as you realize you're about to have a pretty significant bond issue and you see rates fluctuate quite a bit. The market movement can help or hurt a little bit, but it's not going to derail the project. I quickly just typed in the numbers. If I believe in this circumstance, I'm sure there's a good amount of padding, cushion in there for the interest rates, knowing that the bond sale is not until July, and we're looking at 3.2%. Let's say the market really moves the wrong way and it goes up, 50 basis points, 0.5%. So, we sell at 3.7% as opposed to 3.2. It would add $10 onto that figure. We don't want that to happen. It wouldn't be totally catastrophic. So that's the market right now. I think the market's going to become a little less volatile once we get through this first quarter.
You guys always say that before we go to market.
That's right.
I know.
We're
And then when you come and then you come back and it's like half a basis point down, you're like, hey, we worked and we got this low for you. That's what Steinman does for
We
you.
move international markets, right? Yeah, exactly. I see here, like I said, the next time this will be in front of the council is not till the June 4th meeting, where we'll be asked to set this, authorize the bond sale. That's setting the date and time of the sale and just directing Springstead and staff to move forward, and then the sale is scheduled for July 2nd.
So one other piece, I'll have Doug stay up for this, but one other piece that we have noted in the memo we've discussed at meetings previous is capital improvement bonds do include a reverse referendum option. So it allows voters to petition for a vote on the issuance of the bonds for the project if the petition is issued to the city within 30 days of the council's adoption of the capital improvement plan, which would be this evening if the council decided to move forward. The petition requesting the referendum vote needs to be signed by voters equal to 5% of the votes cast in the city's last general election. And so we've put that.
I've always been very transparent about that. Yep.
So,
And that would start tomorrow.
correct.
If approved tonight, right.
If approved
Absolutely. I don't have any questions. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Green? Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Your presentation is concluded. So what I would do is, do we need a motion to open a public hearing? I just open it, right? Okay, we'll officially open the public hearing now. Are there any members of the community or anyone here that would like to address or state anything based upon the bond sale that we're looking at? City Hall, anything? We're going to leave the public hearing open for a bit. So if anybody does come in, please, and if I miss them, please bring them to my attention. Leave that open. Moving on to the consent agenda. If I could get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Henry.
I'll second.
Motion second by Councilmember Monroe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no unfinished business. Ms. Nash, Meridian Fields concept plan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. D.R. Horton has submitted a concept plan for the Carver 212 development property. This is the property that's located immediately northwest of Carver Elementary School, south of 212, and about a quarter-mile west of County Road 11, with the future commercial development for United Properties sort of in between County Road 11 and this proposed project. They're proposing to develop 83 single-family homes on this site. It would require an extension or a new street of Spring Creek Drive that would match up with the intersection of the existing Spring Creek Drive on the east side to be extended through to provide access to this site. That would, for some amount of time until other development occurs in the area and surrounds it, that would be the only way in and out of this project. You can see there appears to be some existing other road networks related to something called Town Road, as well as a frontage road along 212. This project wouldn't be able to access either of those to provide another way out.
Would not or would?
Would not.
Is that the exception in the,
The exception is an existing
house.
home.
With the flag on the side.
Correct.
Thank you, Doug.
and that home is not part of this project. That home, the way the proposed concept plan has been laid out, at some point in the future, that home could be provided access off of the internal streets of the neighborhood, and then that frontage road could be closed. But again, this is just a concept plan, and they'll have to go through quite a bit of redesign as they head towards their preliminary plat, potentially. Because this project is accessing Jonathan Carver Parkway, they'll have to do a traffic impact analysis. We anticipate that a majority of the comments that we'll receive from the public will be traffic-related. And what does that mean on County Road 11? So those answers, we don't have at this point in time, of course, but we will have much better information on that as the project continues to move forward. In your packet is comments, very preliminary comments from Carver County and MnDOT, and both of them have referenced a request to have a noise study completed on this project due to the proximity of the site to Trunk Highway 212 and the anticipated existing noise levels on 212. This project would need to do a noise study, so we'll have more information on that as well as you head into preliminary plat.
This project will need to do a noise study based upon who may live here, or how will? Can you give me just a little bit of more information on
Sure.
that?
So basically, state noise rules classify different land uses under different ratings, and residential uses have a very specific rating.
Got it.
Because 212 is so close to them, some portion of the homes that are shown on this concept plan may have noise levels potentially exceeding those allowed under state noise rules.
Sure.
So then we would look at what types of mitigation would be available to address that issue as the project moves forward. And then that could impact things like berms and other design features to help mitigate some of that noise.
Or it means, hey, you're building a home near 212, you might have noise. So before you sell a house, you actually sign off on that. Am I accurate or not accurate? Because at some point, essentially what MnDOT wants is not to be held responsible, correct?
Certainly, MnDOT does not want to have to build noise walls.
Well, that's what they're doing. Okay, all right, we're with you. This doesn't surprise you, does it? Okay.
Deb Ridgway with DR Horton.
Deb
is
Ridgway
here.
with DR Horton.
I'll introduce her at
We
this
call
point
that a
in time.
segue.
I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any questions you have and give her an opportunity to speak about their proposed project.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Deb Ridgway with DR Horton. Yeah, I'm really here to answer any questions that you may have. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We're trying to prepare for preliminary plat in the next month or so, so we have a short time frame. We have meetings set up with the county and the city related to noise mitigation, noise studies, and what is expected as far as studying all that. So, but I'm here to answer any questions related to the layout or any other questions you may have.
Mark?
The
I'm
green-
sensing.
Sure, yeah. The green space that's up near the exception area, what are you planning to do with that? I can see that obviously it's not going to be built on because you don't have necessary access to it for a driveway. What are you planning to do with that in the?
So right now, yeah, it's pretty much an orphaned piece. We'd probably absorb it into the adjacent lot, the home lot that would be just south of that. But the layout may change a bit based on the roundabout design, so access might change how that works up in that corner. But we anticipate it would just be part of one of the lots.
So the park dedication, I'm assuming, is to be cash in lieu of?
Yes. There's also an orphan piece in the northwest corner of the site, on the other side of the wetland.
Lot 1.4 acres.
Yep, and we'd probably anticipate deeding that to the city for some sort of open space, or,
Put a park bench
there you go.
overlooking the wetland. I like it.
Cindy, this is a question for you. So if I read this correctly, when we annex this piece, it comes in as ag, is that correct? And then we change the zoning to single family?
R2.
Correct. Every parcel that you annex, when it first comes into the city, is automatically given the zoning of agricultural. So one of the necessary steps is to rezone it to whatever its ultimate classification will be.
Is this R2?
Yeah, it'll probably be R2.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
So I just have a question for Andrew about your edits to the roundabout. Am I reading this right? So it'll be kind of a roundabout that has only 3 streets attached to it instead of 4, and then the entrance into the neighborhood would then be a right-hand turn as you're heading west?
Yeah, that's, I guess, just some feedback that I have. It may not ultimately end up that way, but my primary thoughts on that was the way the roundabout is kind of shown in that figure. The through movement through the roundabout takes you through the residential street that goes east-west, and that's going to tend to lead to higher traffic and higher speeds going through that. To me, the intent would be that the through traffic would remain on the future collector, the major collector that's going to be there. And then, in my opinion, just as a very cursory level of this, the large driver for the roundabout is going to be the commercial property, not these residential, not these 85 residential units or whatever's there. And so that's why I had kind of stubbed out that way as just another idea to think about.
Ms. Ridgway, is that something that you guys are aware of and comfortable with, or you take issue with? I'm just throwing it out there.
No, we don't take issue with it. We'll look at the roundabout and understand what the concerns are.
Cool. All right.
Does it have to be a roundabout?
You want?
I don't like roundabouts, I like intersections.
I want a roundabout.
For this development, they probably don't need anything, and so that's part of the conversation that needs to
Right.
happen is how do you build this piece that's a little bit further out and then still set it up to not completely cut off access to it when you
And
need to build
capture
an
it for that
intersection. So
development going in.
we'll have to
later.
get through some of that.
Yep.
A traffic study would tell us better whether it's a roundabout signal, 4-way stop, 2-way stop. We just don't have enough information right now until the commercial property concepts start coming forward.
Well, Glenn made it public. I'm all for roundabouts. Love roundabouts. Way better. Mock.
Cindy, I have a question. It pertains to this development, but then also to the future. So right now, the developments that are going in west of County Road 11, we're dumping them all into 11, which I understand we have to do the traffic study for. You're talking about in the future that there may be other ways to exit these developments, and I know that we have some topography issues. Don't we have some big ravines that will cut us off too? How are you envisioning that we will have other exits coming out, and where will they lead to?
Sure, and to clarify, my original comment was that its only exit would be this one way in and out to 11. At some, 5, 10 years from now, there will be multiple ways for somebody here to get out to 11.
Right.
Eventually, you'll have a whole collector system that goes all the way out to County Road 43, as well as possibly,
Frontage road along 212 maybe.
a north-south road that would take you across 212 over to Levi Griffin, if you imagine that extended.
Okay,
as
because it's
well
my
in the future.
understanding.
So it will take a while for you to get there.
Okay, because my understanding is they would prefer to do away with some of these frontage roads if they're going to expand 212 to 4 lanes in that area. The east-west one.
Correct. Ultimately, MnDOT will be hoping that these frontage roads can go away because they would want 212 to be a restricted access.
All right, so we would probably end up with an overpass somewhere west of here, like the old 140. I forget the new number of that road.
I don't think
There's one over, isn't there one over 212 to the east of us that used to be County Road 140?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yep.
similar to that.
I forget the new number, the new county number for it.
County Road 62.
44.
44? Okay. All right. It changes like 9 times. But I'd also like to just point out that one of the things that I've already seen Facebook comments on is the traffic. Traffic is busy at 2 times of the day on County Road 11, and it is an issue on Jonathan Carver Parkway. We do have a study going on with the county. The county is making determinations on how to move that traffic. They're aware of the development that we are going to have, which is why the study doesn't cost $5,000. It costs $150,000. They're taking all that into consideration. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that you're aware of it, we're aware of it, that this will impact traffic and moving forward. We do have a traffic plan moving forward, so. Any other questions at this point? Oh, Mr. Merrick.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Cindy, would you mind, just for maybe the residents that are watching, describe this process and the upcoming process? So specifically, the concept plan, preliminary plat, final plat, what those are, and how folks can be involved and stay involved?
Absolutely, thank you. The concept plan is a non-binding review. It's to get some very high-level comments, and that's why at this point in time, even though we had a pretty lengthy comment letter attached to the council packets, it's not actually very detailed either in terms of anything prescriptive that needs to be changed or done. So this is a non-binding review to give them some information as they head towards design. The next step for them will be to make several applications that they'll probably make all at one time. They need to do a comprehensive plan amendment. This property in your 2030 comprehensive plan is guided commercial, and in your 2040 draft future land use map, it is showing as low-density residential. However, if they want to do this development this year, they'll need to do that comp plan amendment to bridge that one-year gap of time. They'll have to do the rezoning that we mentioned earlier from agricultural to probably R2 residential. They may or may not need to do a planned residential development. They're hoping not to have to. They're hoping to be able to come under zoning without asking for any exceptions to the existing zoning requirements.
We are
They'll
too.
And then they'll also have to do a preliminary plat. So those things will all come in, and they typically all come in at the same time together for a review. There'll be a public hearing regarding those applications. I would anticipate that will happen yet sometime this spring, April or May timeframe roughly. The city will notify residents, will put information on the city's webpage with the plans that they're proposing to do so that everybody can take a really close look at that along with that traffic study and what that means. Once that's reviewed by the Planning Commission, it'll go to the City Council where the City Council will review and make your comments on that as well as whether to approve or deny that whole series of applications. And if it is approved, then their next step from there would be to apply for a final plat where we would hammer out the details and refine that development even more, which again would go to the Planning Commission and the City Council for review.
I would also like to add that this falls under the purview of what we did with the Urban Land Institute. One of the things that we're trying to become is really, truly a more developer-friendly community. We certainly don't want to make this easy and be run over, but at the same time, we want to welcome developers to this organization because when we met with the Urban Land Institute, one of the things people talk about commercial, they talk about development, and those things can't come without residential rooftops within our city. And while, like I mentioned, and I think everybody up here is concerned with, we don't want to see this impact traffic negatively. We don't want to see it impact wetlands, but we also want to make sure that we have enough rooftops so that we can get a grocery store, we can get some retail and some commercial involved within our community. And it falls within everything that we met with the Urban Land Institute right in this room, so good news. Do you have a plan on when you ideally would love to break ground?
Well, we'd love to break ground this summer. Hoping that all the cards fall into place, we could do that.
Okay.
But we'd like to be open with model homes by this time next year.
Ideally with an open home by fall parade or spring parade?
Spring
Got it.
parade.
Okay.
Which means we need to be breaking ground in the summertime.
Sure, yeah, it's not, you got to get stuff in place. Christie?
Cindy, this
Ms. Mock, sorry.
fine either way. Cindy, I know that like you said, this is high-level concept plan here, but since we are so close to the new school, are there trail systems planned to go through this, or will it be sidewalks only that connect into the school?
So I think this was in our comments, but if not, it would be reviewed during the preliminary plat. There would be a trail, there is already a trail kind of on the north side of the elementary school property, so we maybe wouldn't have to duplicate it on the south side of Spring Creek Drive. However, there likely would be a trail on the north side of Spring Creek Drive, and there would have to be trails, we would look at them somehow on this collector road with sidewalks connecting into the development. So there would be, it would be walkably friendly to
Okay.
residents to
I
get to the
believe it
school.
is in there, just to add to
Okay.
that.
I just think that if they're that close, that you might see more people walking, not just for school, but for after-school activities and everything. So
Absolutely.
really
We would
accessible,
encourage
big
that.
walking areas would be nice.
We would encourage that, Deb Ridgway from D.R. Horton Homes.
We do plan on putting trails in addition to the sidewalks. Probably, I don't know what the city standards, but typically we do one side of the street and then.
For sidewalks?
Yes.
Right on. Any other questions for Deb Ridgway of D.R. Horton? What does D.R. stand for? Doctor?
No.
You don't know, do you?
No, it's the name of the founding of the founder of the company.
Well, it stands for D.R. What's his?
DR,
initial?
we just call him DR.
Okay, Mr. Horton,
Yes.
not to be confused with Johnny. You have a question?
We anticipate that the home prices will start around the mid 300s.
So 3 to 5, 3 to 6?
No, not that. No, these are our express.
450?
No, probably
5?
three.
Sorry.
No, they'll probably be around 350 to start. Maybe we'd like to be a little less than that. The idea is to get more of the first-time home buyer, and I hate saying first-time home buyer in that price range, but that's where it's going right now. So it will be our line of, we call them express homes. So they fit on smaller lots, and they're like a multi-level. They look like a Rambler home from the outside.
Right on. Answer your question? Anyone else up here? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the concept plan for Meridian Fields?
I would make that motion.
That's a motion from Councilmember Mock
I'll second it.
and a second from Councilmember Henry. Any further discussion? There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am going to go back, it's been a half hour, to our public hearing on our capital improvement plan for City Hall project. I'm going to ask one more time. At this point, does anyone have any comments, questions that they'd like to address towards the capital improvement plan for the City Hall project? I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Councilmember Monroe to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Johnson. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion at this point? There's a motion to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are at that point. What I would, well, that's the motion. That's the motion.
We could
Want me to read
discuss.
the motion? Oh, sorry. Actually, I'm going to wait until we do have a motion, so
What?
I would entertain a motion.
Oh. I'll make a
Make a
motion.
Oh, somebody.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 108-18, giving preliminary approval to the issuance of general obligation capital improvement plan bonds in an amount not to exceed $4.95 million, and adopting the City of Carver, Minnesota capital improvement plan for the years 2018 through 2022.
There's a motion by Councilmember Monroe.
I will second that motion.
There's a motion, sorry, second by Councilmember Henry. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion, any comments? I would just like to add that this is probably the biggest project that we've ever done financially, and I think impact-wise, from a city standpoint, and a city-initiated, pardon?
Above ground.
That,
Above ground.
that, thank you, staff, for all the work on this. We've actually turned this into something that is expected, and we have informed everyone of what we're doing along the way. And it's been extremely transparent and straightforward, and I actually give all the credit to the staff on that, because the information and the questions that have been answered, Facebook, website, you've truly done a fantastic job in making sure that everybody understood exactly where we're going with this, and I thank you for that. Any other comments or questions, concerns?
No, I would just like to echo what you said as well. I think this process went pretty well, and I'm very excited about this building.
What's the next step in the process, Brent? I saw it in here, and
Your last meeting in March, you'd be able to consider bids for the project.
okay, so plans and specs are being drawn up now.
They have been for the last several months, yeah.
Okay. And they're going out in the end of March, they're opening them. Okay. That's all I got, Mike.
So any further comments, questions, concerns? There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again for all your work.
If I could just add one more thing to the council's comments on the gratitude piece, that I think it probably goes without saying, but there was many residents, hands, voices,
Agreed.
design ideas from all the way back to the master facilities group that started in 2013 through community stakeholders, through the task force, and a lot of hours. And there are too many people to name individually, but they know who they are. We've thanked them before, but I want to thank them publicly because this has truly turned into not just a community space project, but a community design project, and I'm excited to see the next steps unfold. So thank you to all those folks.
Yes, for sure.
We are now to the point where I say Monroe.
I do not have anything.
Johnson.
I don't have anything either.
Mock.
I do not have anything.
Hank.
Parks Commission met, and we went over the next 1 to 5 year plan for the parks and hammering out some details on it. It's fun and exciting.
I have nothing. Merrick.
I think we've got the word out this afternoon officially, but Erin Smith is going to be starting as the new city planner on March 7th, so we're very excited to bring her on board and excited for her to get to meet Cindy and Andrew and the rest of the team, getting her updated on all the planning and development projects that we have right now and are expecting to have in the near future. So looking forward to introducing her
Looking
to the
forward to
council
meeting
as
her.
well.
Right on. Anyone else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
There's a motion by Councilmember Henry, second by Councilmember Johnson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.